Hello Ratbags, it's Jade, welcome to a Valheim news video, an exciting one as we've got a tentative release date for the Caves or Mountain update, whatever you want to call it, for Valheim. It's meant to be coming next few weeks. The Valheim devs joined me for a live stream the other day, just have some fun really, and we did answer a bunch of questions though to them or asked them, and they answered at the end of the stream, and they did give us some good answers about possible future teams, about more boats, and a lot more. So do leave a like, make sure you subscribe for the best, it's VALHEIM News, and let's go and check out what they had to say about when the Mountains and Caves update is coming out.
Right, I can say this much then, if I'm just going to be a little bit nice. We were doing testing today. Probably next week we'll be putting it out on the experimental branch that we have, and then after that, that should be coming out on the what's it called after that, Luma?
Public testing
Public
branch.
test. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was Grim talking about it. He's one of the art guys at Valheim. We've done lots of content together now, and he was joined by Luma, the QA master, as well as Jonathan, the engineer behind some of Valheim, who got both hired on to come and help out with Valheim once they'd got their feet under the table once they launched. So yeah, it's looking likely it could potentially launch next week for everyone, but it's probably going to coincide with their anniversary, which is coming up. That's going to be on the 2nd of February, so that's going to be a Wednesday. If somehow you was expecting maybe the Mistlands update to arrive pretty soon as well, Richard, the creator of Valheim, did tweet this out last week, and I did cover this already, that the Mistlands will not be arriving with the anniversary. It's going to be the Caves and Mountains update, which has grown. The devs said they put a lot of work into it. They've had the whole team behind it over the last few weeks as well, instead of maybe some of them working on the Mistlands. And so it does mean that this content's all going to be coming pretty good. Also including some new stuff. Not just the mountains and stuff, but there could be potentially a new creature added to the game. And there might be some new build pieces, only maybe a couple though or whatever. They generally say that with new resources, there usually comes some sort of new build pieces. And that's going to continue on throughout Valheim's development.
I think you can safely say that there are things that like to howl in the caves.
That was Grim being non-committal about me saying the Caves is really the Cult of the Wolf. So at the moment, it's still just the Caves or Mountain update. The Valheim devs are great fun. They join me. Really appreciate them coming along. They're really fun. They put up with me waffling on about nonsense.
Oh, let me think.
You know the answer to that, Robin.
Yes, I do know the answer to that, and that's sadly no.
And the question was, is there going to be any tames coming as part of the Mistlands update? Tameable creatures?
It's not going to be tameable, but it might be tamed from the start.
So a little bit cryptic from Robin there, initially saying that there's not going to be any new tames in the Mistlands update, but there will be some sort of new creature that's tamed from the start. So make of that what you will, people. Devs also confirmed what you should know by now, they've put this everywhere in the FAQs, that whenever they put new content into biomes, you basically go and find a new piece of land. So for the mountains and caves, if you want to find the new content, you're going to have to go to a mountain or cave area that you haven't explored already. It was exactly the same with the tar pits, it's going to be the same with the caves and mountains. The guys also spoke about how they love seeing people kind of use Valheim in different ways. Like the guy that managed to beat all the bosses in reverse order, or recently I think the same dude that's done a completely vegetarian pacifist run for the whole game other than the bosses. What they're not always so keen on is ways to manipulate the game that don't really feel right, not set in the way. So stuff like automation of like crops or your creatures, etc.
Like I'd say we fix stuff if it's perceived as a bug, or like if there's an exploit that's like breaking the game for people who play the game in the way that we mean it to be played. But I mean, there's always going to be ways that people, I mean, we think it's kind of fun to see people playing bosses backwards and things like that. We're not going to actively try to stop. Like you could call them exploits, but it's more like they're actually just exploring the game in interesting ways. That's cool. Yeah, I think we don't actively try to like block players doing things.
So that was Jonathan, the engineer for Valheim, giving us some extra info about that. Jonathan also spoke about some changes he'd like to see implemented, maybe possibly into the game, which is one of them joining on a game where the events happen and maybe your friends aren't as well prepared. They're basically underleveled and the events go by the host of the world or the person that's activated the most. That can maybe put off newer players. And I kind of agree with him there. It can do, especially on like private rentable servers or your own servers. Joining on a server that's already been running for days and days could be no joke when you get attacked by high level mobs. Now, Jonathan didn't actually have an answer about what would change with that if he could do anything about it, but I presume in the future we might be able to have a setting that turns off events when the game's fully ready to come out, maybe, or reduces the events so that they're only a minimum, or stops them at certain levels. Jonathan also said that you can't rule out the game possibly having more than 10 players, because that's what I'd always believed when I asked him the question. And he said, yeah, as long as the netcode stands up, you know, it's not a complete hard cap.
I don't think we should say a hard no on that, though. You never know. I mean, it's mostly up to like the netcode if it works or not.
And just a few niggles, they know about some issues with the controller. It seems something to do with Steam and how they input it, that sometimes the controls are reversed when using the control pad. And they are thinking of making a way so you can recognise what way item stands are actually placed when you're placing them, so you don't have to keep redoing them. So it's a simple way of just showing which way it's facing.
Yeah. Is it the direction
mean...
of the armor stand? Like it's difficult to see front and back, I think.
Oh, okay.
So that was Luma, the QA specialist, the man that makes sure that Valheim runs perfectly, giving us a little bit of info there. And lastly, Jonathan also spoke about cheesing items from server to server.
That the character items are kept on the server, so that there's no way to like cheese materials from another server and say that, oh, I found this 50 iron when you were sleeping last night.
So the Valheim devs do recognise some of the complaints that people can cheese or cheat when they join your server, bring in a whole bunch of materials, or you can do it yourself to get away from not having to transport your ores into portals. There's ways to cheese it. So it could be something they work on in the future to maybe have as an adjustment or a setting, I'm guessing, when the game comes out fully. Grim also spoke about the fact that the NPCs, while good on his wish list that he'd like to see more added, at the moment they just want to make sure that Halder's got interesting items. So it's on the burner at the moment, they're thinking about it, what could Halder possibly sell more of or trade more of, and that would probably be more of a focus going forward than any other kind of NPC at the moment. But he would love to add like a bog witch to the game that sells like herbs maybe and potions or ingredients, but that's just his little wish list.
Or like Haldor's brother Baldur, who sells you really crappy items that are really good, but they might end up breaking really fast or something like that. It would be cool with more traders, but the thing is that Haldor becomes very unique, and there is no better trader than Haldor right now. So it keeps it within the Valheim kind of keep it simple style.
Good news for people that want to build castles with proper moats. Drawbridges are a thing, and they do look likely to be added in the future.
Oh, we intended to have drawbridges in Hearth and Home, but with drawbridges, we felt like we wanted to wait with that for a while at least, and see if we can figure out a better solution than the solution we had there. It felt a little bit buggy at that time because we made basically it was a door flipped vertically on the ground instead. So if you opened it up, it just opened just as fast as a door, so you could launch people with it. So it didn't feel.
So yeah, maybe that one needs to be cooked a little bit longer before it works properly, satisfactorily.
Or new ships. We want to be able to customize ships, but we have been talking when we did the locks, made locks tameable and everything and rideable. We were like, we need a bigger boat.
So it does look like in the future there could be a way to travel or take your wolves or your big locks across the ocean, whether it's adjusting one of the ships right now or possibly adding a new one in the future. But that might not come until the ships and seas kind of maybe focus, who knows when. They definitively also said there won't be any obsidian build pieces in the caves update, because it does look like in the pictures of the cave stuff we've seen, looked to me like there was an obsidian piece on a pedestal, but it looks like you won't be making anything with that at the moment. And I would say that's the sexiest kind of info from my little chat with them. Really were just having a bit of fun for ages. I did long it out a little bit, but they did give us some great answers, and I was surprised to even get just a tentative release date of the caves and mountains update. Valheim's coming up to its 1 year anniversary, of course. It's must be close to 9 or 10 million players by now. I'm sure we're going to see lots of great content talking about their year since they've gone into early access. It's still a long way to go. They've still got at least another year in early access. That's always been the plan. So they've got plenty of updates to come. And we know that they've changed things around to make sure that every player gets the maximum they can out of Valheim, that the updates have packed with content, and in fact making sure that the quality is there as well. Valheim is one of the best played early access games I've ever tried out, and I've played every single one of the survival ones out there. Honestly, the amount of bugs that you get is so minimal compared to what else you see. So it's really a polished game. They really work hard to make sure these updates come out and hopefully aren't broke or make problems with the community. And we've seen with the recent reviews, it's 95% overall score now. It makes it the second highest rated survival game ever, only Terraria beating it. So I'm very much looking forward to the Caves and Mountains update. It's going to be a busy month, lots of stuff going on, but I will be there to showcase, as always, first, some of the new mechanics, anything new added, new creatures, new items, and of course the new Cult of the Wolf mountain dwelling caves, which I think they are. Make sure you're locked on to the best in survival news. Thanks a lot to the Valheim Irongate devs for joining, and hopefully we can do it again in the future. Laters.